just sitting back and thinking to myself, okay, what kind of interesting things could I possibly talk about when it comes to video blogging that other people don't usually like to tap into? Because part of the whole thing here that I'm really trying to really tap into as far as like the life mutterings are concerned is just to talk about, I want to talk about me, and I want to talk about things that would be unusual to talk about in a video blog. Things that are a little more introspective, perhaps. I don't just want to rant about one particular thing or some jerkwad at the food store. I want to get a little bit deeper than that. I want this to be more like therapy sessions, except I'm not going to be giving away too much personal information. But I want this to be therapeutic for me, and if it's therapeutic for me, I think it will be interesting for you guys. And that's just my honest take on the whole thing. And it sounds crazy, but it's just so much fun to talk into an iPhone for like 15 minutes and talk about basically nothing. So today I was just thinking through like all the possible like topics that I could go through, because it's just like there's a whole, once you really start to tap into it, there's a whole slew of different things that you can possibly talk about and give your own personal unique interpretation on what that thing is, a particular philosophy. It's just like, it's a can of worms. I don't understand anybody who can honestly say like, well, I don't have anything to talk about like whatsoever in like my video blogs. And I've honestly heard people say this, like actually asking for topics, because it's kind of like I've run out of things to talk about, and it's just like, look around you, inside of your room, inside of your home, inside of your heart, there's probably something that's just yearning to be breaking free, and these people just like constantly restraining it. I'm not a person to be restrained. And so tonight I recorded a podcast, and I've got to be honest, like I have a ton of fun with these things almost always, but there's always a point where I can't help but wonder, am I a dick? Like, that's the strangest question to possibly ever ask. But you're sitting here in the middle of this conversation with everybody, just talking. And these are the talking hands, by the way. They represent talking, all the time. And then you just get into something like, Brett and I ended up having like a screaming session, which started with like a Facebook status that I had made about X-Men First Class, and it just like completely went out of hand on this particular podcast. And it was all in good fun, and it was crazy, and there's lots of fun screaming involved, and I love to scream and just like get over the top. Maybe I'm a bit of a drama queen like myself, but sitting there, I just couldn't help but think after the fact, wow, like, you know, am I a dick sometimes? I mean, I think I really can be kind of like an unintentional, like, you know, asshole. And it's all in like a part of my character. It's a part of me. Everybody has like that inner dick that just comes out and just like pisses everybody off. You're just like that giant erection walking down the street that everybody can't stand, because you're just going to start brushing up against girls' legs, and it doesn't work. It's a giant mess. And so I decided to like actually sit down, and I thought, well, that'd be interesting. Let's make a list of all of the major times that I've been a dick and talk about them, because it's so interesting. It's a part of human nature that we tend not to explore. And all of you are going to be saying, well, I've never been like really a dick, I don't think. Bullshit. I want to call you out on your bullshit right now, because everybody at some point or another, or I certainly hope so, maybe I'm just saying this to make myself feel better, but we've all been there. We have all been belligerent assholes at some point or another. We all feel these things. It's a part of natural human nature. And just to prove that I had made a list, here it is. This is the list of, like, I think there's, let me see. Yeah, there's about 6 things here as far as, like, times I have been a dick. Dick. And so we're going to start off with the 2 major breakups that I've had in my lifetime. And I'll admit, I consider myself a good boyfriend. Like, whenever I get within that particular sort of situation. Doesn't happen all the time, but, you know, for the times that I have been there, I always try to be supportive. I always try to be, like, as cute and cuddly and fluffy as I possibly can. Maybe that's a mistake. Do girls like the cute and cuddly and fluffy thing? I think they do. I love to be cute and cuddly and fluffy for girls and have them, like, pamper me. And I'm just generally there. I'm always very talkative. I'm always very connected and everything. Like, I'm not necessarily the most masculine person in the world, but most of the girls that I dated really didn't care, because I've always been the one to break up first. I am always the one to just completely cut the cord and go, all right, you're gone. I'm completely done with this situation. And this is the point which leads to my basic dick talk. Is that I had never allowed like any hint that I'm going to break up with somebody. like before I do it. It just happens. And it usually happens over the phone because I'm way too much of a coward to actually go up in person and say, hey, I'm breaking up with you, because I don't want to be there when they're crying and they're screaming in my arms. And this is really horrible. And I've realized when I look back on it, because I tried to justify so much of this with just kind of like, well, breaking up over the phone, it really isn't a big deal. Everybody does that. No biggie. And then you start to think about it, and it's kind of like, I wish I was better than that. I wish I had honestly, like, allowed time for discussion and thinking. I'm thinking our relationship is coming to an end. I am here for you in person so that we can talk about it. Let's discuss this. Let's not just cut the cord over the phone. Let us unravel in a more sophisticated manner, I would say. Because honestly, this all comes down to cowardice. And my first real girlfriend, she did not deserve this. Like, she really didn't. Like, she never saw this coming, I swear to God. And I just, like, popped it on her, and she was crying, and I felt, like, absolutely terrible, and I almost immediately, like, apologized. And this is actually over Skype. I was like, I'm so sorry, you really don't deserve this and that. But really, that's sort of like an empty apology kind of thing, where you're just, like, apologizing to somebody, basically saying, yeah, I know I've been a dick, but we're still a dick. So it doesn't really matter how many times you say that you're sorry. The second time this had happened, I'll be honest, I was really kind of ticky with this girl. Like, I didn't really, like, there was just a point where I didn't really like her that much. I really tried to, and she was a wonderful girl, but it just didn't. It didn't meld in my mind. I tried to. I thought it would be a good thing, our personalities meshed okay, but then there just came the point that one evening where I was like, I can't go on with this, and so I just did it over the phone, and it was completely disastrous. And she was actually she called me on the phone, and I was talking to her, and she said, like, oh yeah, where are we planning to do, like, this weekend, or are we planning to do a date? And this is, like, one day before the actual date, and we hadn't talked over the phone for, like, 5 days, so I really don't see, like, there wasn't much communication there, or desire for communication, but I basically said, yeah, actually, like, this weekend, that's not going to be good for me because I've got to go to my brother's house and this, and her reaction was, oh, you're breaking up with me, and I went, because I'm one of those people, I can't lie, I can't do it, I should have said, no, I'm not, and done the right thing, the gentlemanly thing, but at that point, I said yes, and then I realized she was at a function, she was at a real, like, function someplace with, like, a group from school, and she just absolutely, she burst. And so this is painting me in absolutely the worst light to, like, a whole ton of people from my particular college, because she started going off and, like, crying and whatever. Then the next day I tried to talk to her over Facebook, and I was saying, listen, like, what I did was really kind of, like, unforgivable in many ways, and I just want to tell you that, like, I really care about you, and you're a really fantastic girl. You, honestly, in some ways, you deserve better than me. Which is, like, the biggest line of, like, oh, bullshit, 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 bullshit. But for, like, the next 2 weeks, she had basically made it her vendetta that every time we would ever communicate whatsoever or run into each other, that she was going to be, like, really, really mean-spirited towards me. But she didn't deserve it, once again. I probably should have, like, ducked out of that relationship far early on, because it was obvious that I was trying to make something work that was in no way ever going to work. And so if you're watching this, and this is why I really don't see this as really, really personal, because I think if they were to watch this, and they obviously know who they are, if they can see my face, like, I apologize, like, 100%. I am really, like, I'm a coward when it comes to breakups. I really am, and it's something that I think I'm going to need to get over. Like, the next time I'm ever in a situation like that, I'm not going to take that route again, especially after we've been dating for, like, 3 or 4 months. I think that somebody deserves better. If it's 1 month, yeah, whatever, who cares? We've just been dating on and off. Like, even 3 months isn't that big of a deal, but people deserve the common courtesy, and I apologize 100%. And so let me scratch this off of the dick list. The 2 breakups. Okay, vacation blues, breaking of the glass, podcast things, friend issues, and much, much more. See, I have like another 4 things to talk about on this list, and I haven't even hit like the big things. Like, there are some particular instances that are very funny, like very comedic. I think that they're points in my life that everybody should listen to because they're absolutely fucking hilarious if I can actually present them correctly. But there was a vacation that my mom and I took just recently with my dad, where we were just traveling around the mountains and everything, and we were staying at these little inns, and it's lovely, and you can actually see the videos from when that trip took place on my channel if you're curious, where I was actually recording blogs in a log cabin about like the PSP games that I was playing and all of that. But anyways, there was just like a weird tension among everybody within the group at that particular point in time. Like, my family was not, I don't think, in the best particular emotional spot. There's just a lot of stuff going on. Like, between everybody, it was like this entire group problem that was just, like, accumulating into this giant mess that was just about to explode. So, on the way back home, I decided that I was going to be the one to ignite it. I was going to be the one to just let this thing explode. Because this was just, like, I was apathetic at this point. Like, I was just not really feeling anything. It had been a horrible, horrible month. And it turned into a giant, like, letdown on my mom and on my dad and how the way that they were handling the situation currently and, like, how if I were doing things or if I had more control, I would do things differently. And it was really brutally unfair. It really was. And I just constantly, my mom tried to defend herself, and I never really raised my voice to a very high level. It was more just kind of like calm and subdued, but it was all a bunch of like really bad put downs until finally we all went silent, like in the car for like the rest of the ride. And we were just like completely just, nobody wanted to talk about anything. And that was another one of those instances where I think a lot of what I said had to be said at some point, but it could have been softer. It could have been timed better than that. Because it's like, this is right at the end of a vacation. We were supposed to be having a good time, and everything ended up being like 3 times more expensive than we thought it was. The lodging was like horrifying. Everything was just a nightmare on this vacation. And so we were already not in a good spot, and I just decided to kick everybody in the tar pool, basically. And that is number 2, therapy. It's a good thing. You should all try this sometime. I'd actually like to see video responses of people. I will leave it at and much, much more. If I really want to, I'll, if people will actually want to hear like the rest of this list, I'll do it in another video, because I think I'm already running over time by all the discussions that I've been doing already. So, I am already feeling plenty zen, because I love getting in touch with this particular portion of my, like, humanity. Because we all have those instances, and they're fascinating to just, like, go back and go, yeah, I was kind of a jerk back then. So, if anybody actually feels like this, you can make a video too. And I would love to hear about your little, like, dick memories. Alrighty, so, also send me some Q&A questions, because I would like to start another Q&A. Alrighty, so, this has been My Profile is Great, and I am signing out. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Darn it, somebody sent me a text message, so I can't click the stop recording button.